Let's break down a game that I hope most of you slept through because it was an absolute snooze fest. Packers win it 23-10. If you missed it, I actually am jealous. You did not miss much. This was the epitome of a Browns preseason game. I don't want anyone reading into the score. I don't want to see a single same old Brownies in the comment section. The Packers actually played their starters. They got off to an early lead. Took them 3 plays to put up a touchdown against Browns backups, and they never looked back. And for the Browns, there's nothing here that should warrant a major reaction or strong opinion. Like, we didn't see the starters play. We saw 5 starters play maybe 10 snaps. Ethan Posick, Wyatt Teller, Martin Emerson, Grant Delpit, Devin Bush. That's it. Devin Bush actually played into the fourth quarter a little bit. I saw him out there for some special team services, but here's the final. Sean Clifford, I thought looked really sharp for the Packers, actually. It surprised me. 10 for 19, 111 yards. I would say the highlight for the Browns would have to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson. 14 for 18. He played the entire second half. Jameis Winston only played the opening series, along with a couple of the other second and a few first stringers in the game. So we barely saw those guys play. Then Tyler Huntley took it from there for the rest of the first half, and DTR picked up for the entire third and fourth quarter. But he had some really good zip on his passes. The velocity was present. Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked a little bit how he looked last preseason, which was a preseason prince. And it's just a good reminder that once we saw him in the regular season, sure, it's a big jump, and we shouldn't judge anyone too harshly after a spot start against the Ravens, but it is the preseason. I don't want anyone overreacting to things or to great or bad performances. DTR, definitely the highlight of the game. He tried to spark a comeback, and ultimately it was too little too late, but 14 for 18, 134 yards. DTR, to me on the field, kind of looked like when an MLB player is doing a rehab assignment in AAA. You could just kind of tell that he was playing a little bit above everyone else on the field, which was good to see because in the fourth quarter, that's how you would hope your backup quarterback looks, or, a competitor for your backup quarterback position. Tyler Huntley in the first half, he went 6 for 9, 41 yards. I thought he looked fine. I didn't think he did anything outstanding or disastrous in any way. I thought he was pretty mid-average chalky for the limited time we saw him. Pierre Strong Jr. probably had one of the better games on the ground, and that's not saying a whole lot. He went 6 carries for 15 yards, but he did have some good feet to him. He was able to kind of jump in and out of holes a little bit, so I liked what I saw out of Pierre Strong Jr. And to piggyback off of that, when it came to kick return, that was probably the number one thing I was looking for on special teams. We did get some good Cade York kicks, though. 2 for 2, 1 field goal, 1 extra point. But the Browns were having a whole convoy of return men back there, so I like the way Bubba Ventrone is going about this, some experimentation and trying out different combinations. We've got more to share on this, including some injury news and unfortunate injury news, too, in just a moment. But make sure to subscribe to the channel. Get the best Browns YouTube content out there. When you hit that sub button, we're going to make sure you are locked in for the best free Browns YouTube coverage all season long. So don't miss a thing when it comes to your favorite team in brown and orange. Some other stats from this game. The Browns offense against the Packers defense, which, like I said, the Packers were trotting out a good amount of their starters. I saw Lucas Van Ness, a first-round pick last year, going up against backup offensive linemen. It's not a very fair fight. 356 total yards. The ground game just never got going. That's more of a, finger pointing to the backup O-line. I was hoping to see some more from Zach Zinter. I was really excited about that pick and still am, but maybe not the greatest preseason performance or debut. Through the air, 17 for 22, 280 yards. The Packers offense was rolling, though, and they played Jordan Love, so that's to be expected early on. Although he only played, I think, 3 snaps, and they turned it over to Sean Clifford. 267 yards, 56 on the ground, although they were sure able to pick up those yards on the ground at the end. And then they didn't have any turnovers, so I think that's just a typo on our end. Sorry about that, everyone. But overall, Browns injury news. Luke Wypler, the backup center, he was carted off the field with an apparent ankle injury. Did not return, did not look good. They put the air cast on. this is some, level of concern because Brian Allen, the other backup center, he was lost for the year with an injury early in training camp. So I think the Browns are going to have to do some exploring for a new backup center. Now, lucky for them, they kind of have a good history of finding good backup centers, like Nick Harris and then Ethan Posick. So I would expect an offensive lineman signing in the next 72 hours or so with no backup center on this roster for Ethan Posick. Some other names, though, from the offensive stat sheet to monitor. Jamari Thrash, the rookie, he had some nice grabs over the middle of the field, number 80. 3 receptions for 43 yards. Feel bad for Brown. He had a touchdown wiped away by an illegal man or an eligible man downfield from Zinter. 2 grabs for 26 yards. Packers, they had their way, like I said, in some ways. Dontavian Wicks, he had one grab, 65 yards, a house call to the end zone. That came on the 3rd play of the game. But for me, the story of this game was it's preseason football, and it looked like preseason football. The starters didn't play. The backups that did play didn't play very much early on, and then we were turning it over to players that, in all reality, are fighting for practice squad spots. So I always look at preseason football as individualistic performances. I know the team wants to look at it from a team perspective, but that's kind of their job. They're the coach of the Browns, not the coach of just one person on the Browns. But I'm looking for certain individuals to pop a little bit more. I thought Devin Bush had a really nice tackle, pretty solid game altogether, so that was nice to see because he's probably going to be in line for a good amount of snaps this year. But, yeah, not a ton here to discuss. Now, before we kind of put a bow on today's video, I do want to tell everyone watching about our friends over at Game Time. So, if you want to get yourself some awesome Browns preseason tickets or some Guardians tickets, download the Game Time app today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, I put all that information already in the comments and description of today's video, but Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. Now, one thing I really like about Game Time is they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Terms apply. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. I didn't want to bring up too many negative things because I don't feel like the negative should really be something we put under a magnifying glass with the starters not out there. The offensive line kind of sucked today. Can we just say that? We agree? Wasn't very good. Now, the offensive line didn't have 5 starters playing for most of the game. So it's not really the Browns' offensive line. It's the backup offensive line with UDFAs and late day 3 draft picks. You don't have All-Pro Joel Petonio out there, All-Pro Jack Conklin. You had DeJuan Jones go for a little bit, but overall, the main cast and crew members were not there for most of the game. So, sure, there's probably something to look into here, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of backup offensive linemen not looking very good. If the regular season rolls around and the offensive line is having a problem, that's a fair time to have that conversation. If the offensive line struggles in a preseason game where the starters play for a quarter, maybe even a quarter and a half, okay, talk to me then. But one series where half the starters didn't even play, it was just Posick and Teller, come on. That I'm not going to get worked up over. Just not going to happen for me. So, if we're getting nitpicky, and sure, 23-10, there's probably a lot of things to reflect on and improve on, but the offensive line is not the least of my concerns because not having Bill Callahan does bring some question marks, but it's not something I'm going to lose sleep over when we're talking about, Javon Cohen and Zach Johnson filling in at center. Those are just guys that aren't going to play football for this team in the regular season. Sorry. But that will do it for us on today's show. I'm just kind of racing through my head here. The bright spot of the game, it's got to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He was really good, made some great passes. So if you didn't watch the game and you want to sound smart in front of your friends, say DTR looked good. Hopefully Luke Wypler doesn't miss too much time. And it was a snooze fest, and we'll see you next week for the next preseason game. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a watch party for you guys every single preseason game, except for the last, because unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but my grandma's having her 80th birthday party on the day of the final preseason game. So I am going to that, although I think I might try and sneak a watch party, fund the birthday party, and bring my computer with me. So stay tuned for that. We'll see how Nanny feels about it.